This is another upload of my Mix Critique archive. This one is numbers 6 through 10. Again, I apologize for the vertical format this video is about to switch to, but it shouldn't take away from any of the information presented in the video. Time for another Mix Critique. This one was sent in by Dylan. Let's check it out. I'll spare you guys all the news clip samples in the beginning. Bro, those drums are so out of time. What the fuck happened?
You lick it later, Larry, and a bang. You don't need a third.
Yeah, I thought something happened when I ripped it off of Spotify to put in my session so I could make the video. No, it's actually on Spotify like that. Like, dude, your drums are out of time, your vocals are out of time. If this was intentional, it's a fucking weird ass choice. If it was an accident, you need to double check your tracks before you upload it to the distributor, because holy fuck. I'm gonna focus on the positive here. The source tones are good. Like, you got good guitar tones, the drum tones are halfway decent, the vocal tone's okay, but the timing is really bad on everything. And no offense, but your clean vocals are not that great. The screams are okay, but it'd be nice if they were in time. Again, I'm trying to focus on the positive side here, man, but there's a lot of issues in this track. All right, bro, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This is the first mix crit that I can't finish the song. I really don't want to discourage you. Like, don't give up, but you have a lot of work you need to do. If you want to get your mix critique, there's a submission form on my page. Time for another mix critique. This one was sent in by Greg. Let's check it out. Strong start. It's kind of started off with almost a breakdown vibe already. I love it. So far, it's pretty good overall, but I am hearing a lot of mud in the low mids. So that's the first thing I'm hearing that definitely needs some work. Other thing is the guitar tone isn't great. It sounds a little like honky, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. So you probably need to take out somewhere between like 450 and like 700 hertz in the guitars. Not a lot, mind you, just like maybe like 2 dB. And also it needs a little bit more of that high-end bite. I think part of it too is a big part of metal guitar tone is the bass tone. And I'm like barely hearing the bass. It just sounds really muddy. I'm assuming you're not split processing your bass. That's something that I would definitely recommend doing. I think that would also help the guitar tone in general if the bass was melded better with the guitar to cut through better. So overall, Greg, I like the track, like it's a good song, and the mix honestly isn't that bad. The biggest thing I'm hearing is that your low mids, there's just so much mud in there. Throw an EQ on your mix bus so it affects the whole mix. You're gonna high pass to 100 hertz and you're gonna low pass to 300 hertz. So all you're hearing is that 100 to 300 hertz range. You'll hear how muddy it sounds in that range, and then you can go through all the instruments and sculpt things out in that frequency range to clear things up, because the amount of mud in that section is completely taking away from the overall energy of the track. And if you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. I'm back with another mix critique. This one was sent in by Shane. Let's check it out. So the whole intro sounded great to start with. I think the biggest thing I'm hearing there is you need more low end, but overall the intro sounded pretty good. But then when the vocals came in, the vocals were way too loud, so I would definitely recommend turning those vocals down a bit. The vocals also aren't really sounding like they blend in really well with the track. Kind of sounds like you EQ'd the vocals in solo. You need to EQ your vocals alongside the rest of the track so it actually sits and blends well with everything else. It was actually a pretty good mix overall. I think the biggest things were I just really wanted some more low end. I would literally just on the mix bus put a low shelf at like 200 hertz. But the biggest thing was the performance of the vocals. The singer was audibly nervous, and that's a big problem with vocalists all the time, is they tend to get nervous in the studio. And as a producer, as an engineer, you need to know how to coach that vocalist. They need to be not even remotely nervous. They need to be super confident in the studio, because otherwise we end up with vocals that sound like this. Like, he sounds not confident. Like, so I would say if you can, if it's not out already, retract those vocals and hype that vocalist up. Get them psyched, get them super pumped to do this track. Make sure that they know that they can kill that part, because that is what this track really needs. And if you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. It's time for another mix critique. This one was sent in by Max. Let's check it out. Bro, like 3 seconds in, I was fucking hooked already. This sounds great.
What do you want from me? But to hesitate
I was really pumped for that drop as the verse was coming in, and just something didn't hit right about it. It landed and the beat was just kind of not where I was expecting it to be based on the rest of it, and that kind of threw me off a little bit. I kind of got back into it after a second, but it was definitely a little jarring.
Let's break this cycle. It's our last song now.
Chorus sounds phenomenal. The vocals on that are killer. I love that. That little back and forth delay thing right before that big drop was awesome. Max, that was awesome. This is probably the first one that I really have almost no notes on whatsoever. Like, the mix was phenomenal. Everything sounded great. All the tones sounded great. Everything was blended really well. The vocal tone over the top was fantastic. Like, the clean vocals during the chorus, so good. Really, the only thing that I didn't like was that little transition into the first verse. I don't know what it was, but something about the rhythm there threw me off. So I would maybe double check that, see if something's edited weird. But overall, that was a fantastic mix. Really good job, man. And if you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. Time for another mix critique. This one was sent in by Justice. Let's check it out. I'm liking the vibe of the intro, but it's a little too long. So first impressions, it's pretty good overall. There's not quite enough low end. Also, the guitars sound great, the bass sounds great, the vocals sound great. Not big on the drum tones, especially the snare. Like, that snare needs to have so much more energy for this track. It just sounds like it doesn't belong there.
Don't say this to the crew. God, for
That bass drop and the breakdown is solid. Love it. So overall, that was a pretty solid mix. I think my biggest things were you kind of need to tame the subs a little bit. Everything below 50 hertz, tighten that up with some multiband compression. Between like 50 and 100 hertz needs a big boost. Like, there's not nearly enough of that frequency range. And then other than that, everything else sounded really great except for the snare. The snare just didn't seem to fit the song. It sounded like that snare was tuned really, really tight to have a really short sustain. Maybe you're using that snare for a different track, something that had a lot of blast beats that needs to not ring super long and be very, very reactive. But in a song like this, it's a little slower paced. You need something a little meatier, something with a little more sustain, something that really kind of cracks and like fills that space. But overall, that was a really solid mix. Just kind of fix the low end a little bit and see if you can do something about that snare. If you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page.